No, I do not recommend reading this book. Yes, I will tell you as much as I want. No, it will not be everything in this book. If you are curious, though, some of the stuff could be spoilers, but the other packs quite a bit into a short novel. Premise and quality. First, gag manga? Manga that's full of jokes? This is a gag novel. Specifically, it's a gag novel that's an extremely weird parody of Alice in Wonderland. The red and white queens, Alice, even smaller characters like the mock turtle and the walrus, all of them are there. Not the Looking Glass version, though. Those characters aren't there at all. Maybe. I haven't read all of Alice through the Looking Glass. Anyways, all the characters in the plot are reimagined as a parody of the age-old hero's journey. Yes, that does mean there's a demon lord. Alice is the hero, and everyone else are either her minions, made to be her minion, or the demon lord's minion. And when I say all the characters are reimagined, I do mean almost nothing of the original characters remain except as jokes. For instance, the Dormouse is exceptionally logical, smart, and dangerous, unlike his original counterpart, but he does like to sleep a lot still, and there's a joke about stuffing him into a teapot, which did happen in the original work. Alice may be the character most different from the original, with the only similarities being she's blonde, cute, a kid, and easily distracted. If the original Alice was just innocent and naive, easily spun around by the other characters, this gag novel is an absolute tyrant, OP as hell, and obsessed with being the cutest princess around. It's absolutely nonsensical, which absolutely fits with the logic of the original work. Maybe I wouldn't recommend this novel, but as an actual piece, I can say the author put good thought into the characterization, jokes, structure, and execution of it all. How? Why? I expected nothing. Nothing! Like, the Dormouse example is a good one, but then there's the fact that the author still managed to sneak in a boss battle with the walrus, who is one of the Demon Lord's minions, even though Alice's crew never go out to water, and it's actually super informative of the Demon Lord's hierarchical structure, and the walrus's pathetic struggle to climb the social ladder, which gives you a cult enough background for the walrus without being exposition heavy, and a bit of world building. What is the execution of the story? How long did it take the author to write? The after was literally 6 lines long, and all they said was, "A child asked if I was okay," while I was crouched on the sidewalk, writing down ideas for this book. Hey, you're funny, okay? I'm just jealous, okay? Anyways, in short, the premise is that the Demon Lord kidnaps Alice's older brother, Jean, because he believes Jean is much cuter than Alice, and therefore the princess in disguise. Alice, who often threatens and glares at other people, is appalled that someone thinks she isn't the cutest or a princess, and sets out on a hero's quest to beat up the Demon Lord for that disgrace. Although she collects a whole crew to help her out, she's easily one of the strongest, if not the strongest, people in the whole world. No, she does not intend to rescue Jean. Yes, Jean is an OC. There are a lot of OCs, and speaking of those OCs, or just the characters in general, really. Characters. They drive the plot and jokes as good characters do. Oh god, these are actually good characters. Sort of, like, they're not Guts or Lupin or Haruhi. Definitely not characters that'll be super popular or last the test of time, but like, they're pretty good for what's supposed to be a nonsensical parody. Definitely are pieces of work, they are. I don't want to talk about this novel in detail, and that includes the events of the plot, but I do want to talk about some of the characters. DL. Short for Demon Lord, of course. You think I'm going to respect this man and say the full title? No, he's DL. The reason I feel this way is that part of the chapters are dedicated to DL and Jean, the prince who got kidnapped, and it's kinda cuter than Alice. It's them spending time together, and they go through the usual shoujo antics. Cavadon, flower crown, lap pillows. I hated it. I hated it. Most of these characters are kids. They look like elementary school kids. I don't want to see romance. Even the setup is so sojo. The Demon Lord meant to kidnap the princess so he could have an heir, but kidnapped the prince instead and gradually fell in love with how nice and cute he is. The dude can even use sex change magic because apparently demons have access to that elusive arts. Blah! Anyways, this dude's an OC and technically the major antagonist of the novel, but since this is a nonsensical parody, He's not scary at all, but just goofy. So goofy and increasingly pathetic once it's clear that there isn't just one character capable of beating its ass in Alice's group, but two. Seb. When Alice makes a fierce declaration to beat up DL, it's with her butler, Seb, at her side. Very quickly, he's introduced as being handsome, a super expert at all martial arts, and apparently chock full of fighting experience. Don't ask how old he is, because he will straight up just say, I'm forever 23. Yeah, and I'm 420. Anyways, because Seb observes that DL is only powerful at long and mid-distance fights because of the dude's magical skills, Alice means to use her butler as their strongest weapon. Seb is very unhappy with this, and the two have a reoccurring exchange of, Seb, go do this thing for me because I'm lazy. No, I would rather not. Huh? Did you say something? No, of course not. I'll go right away. I do like his character very much, though. Competent but tired characters are the ones for me. Seb and Alice make up half of the main cast, with the other being Hata and Haiga. Although Seb is their strongest weapon, Alice does have to set up his victory by forcing DL into a one-on-one arena. So she seeks out what are probably her only friends in the world, a pair of siblings who seem to come as a Hatter pair. Either way, these two are the perfect example of the characters often terrorized by Alice and forced to do stuff they don't like. Hata is the first one unwillingly picked up by Alice. He's an item shop owner obsessed with wealth and has a rich memory of countless near deaths at the hands of Alice's insane request. He recounts almost getting eaten by a dragon, falling off a cliff, etc., etc. Despite that rich memory, he's still lured in by the princess's promise of wealth. He's also the mule of the group. By that, because he's just a kid, he uses special and rare items to both protect himself and speed up the group's journey. Stuff like wards to keep monster encounters away, bombs to set off distractions, and a whip for attacking. Unfortunately, that also means Alice is perfectly willing and able to throw him to the wolves, rather than lift a finger to help. Next is Haya, who carries the Boundary Stone, a magical item that creates an unbreakable barrier in a small space, perfect for trapping DL. She's also the white mage of the group, in charge of buffing and healing the party. She also has a very rich imagination. I genuinely feel bad that the rest of the characters make fun of her roleplay, so I won't describe it to you. In short, she's a very cute and lovable girl with a ton of magic power. Just like Hatcha, though, Alice is perfectly willing to use her without a care for Haiga's life. Funny thing about the Boundary Stone is that it also traps the user in the space as well. If I had to describe Alex's crew from Alice's perspective, it would be Alice, the hero, Seb, the hero's sword, Hata, the hero's items, and Haiga, the hero's buffs and heals. And everyone outside of that crew is her dinner. Can a joke also be a fact? A recurring gag about her character is that she's obsessed with new and interesting experiences, which includes eating monsters. Deedledee and Deedledum. Just a short mention, but I was pleasantly surprised at how nice and ordinary they were, but maybe that's also why I was disappointed. Up to the point of meeting them, all the characters like Cheshire and Dodo were so strange but interesting. These are just two nice, middle-aged men taking care of their item shop on the outskirts of town. Well, a cliffside, but anyways. Flamingos. Yes, the author gave the flamingos, the pitiful golf clubs in the original material, personalities. Not huge characters really, but as direct servants of the Demon Lord, they sealed into stone for me that all direct servants, like the Dormouse and Dodo, are strong enough to do whatever they want, regardless of their intelligence. And generally, what they want to do is just have fun. For instance, these flamingos are shapeshifters. In order for Alice's crew to find DL in his castle, they have to find 3 keys to unlock his throne room. Shifting into Hata and Haiga, they challenge Alice and Seb to tell which is which in return for one of those keys. However, Haiga is obviously Haiga because of the onion monster sitting on her shoulder. They befriended that thing along the way, and there really isn't much reason for it to exist other than be afraid that Alice will eat it and shake in terror whenever there's a really strong boss monster nearby. Hatter is also Hatter, just by, well, Sub threatens to spill his secret, and the shop owner loses his mind and threatens to blow the room sky high with bombs. Most of the gags in this novel threaten the life and pride of a character. By the way, the secret was what Hatter would do to Alice. I think it means that in terms of like, he's really scared that Alice will thrash him and actually kill him. I don't know. I'm not really sure. It didn't seem sexual. Nothing in his novel is really sexual. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. Anyways, the flamingos aren't too angry that the crew easily guesses who's who, but are just happy to play a fun game. They even give the crew a place to rest, drink some tea, eat some snacks, and plan the next move. Dodo. Oh god, Dodo! He's the best example of a whimsical character in the series that isn't totally a tyrant like Alice, or made fun of like Hatter and Heiger. As one of the direct servants, he's really strong, and I mean physically strong. One of the obstacles in Alice's path is a giant gate that must be opened through pure strength, and he does it by himself. That thing apparently took like 20 already muscly men to open it before. In other words, he's a himbo. Oh, he would be if he apparently wasn't a middle-aged man with rippling biceps and thighs and these massive wings sticking out of his back. The author doesn't go into much character detail or any detail at all except what's necessary to understand the action or the background. So I thought this dude was like a winged centaur with a bright yellow tank top for the longest time, and his actual appearance is still weird. I love Dodo, I really do. He was the first major obstacle in Alice's path, and she outran his ass just because she was mad Hatter had drawn a mustache on her face while she was sleeping. And the reason why he helps Alice push the gate open is because he respected her speed and strength, and happened to meet them while flying to his friend's house. Man, so easygoing and dumb. The end. To speak a little more on the technical aspects of this novel, most of the jokes are built into the dialogue of the characters, which makes up for the lack of details in appearance and mood. If there are gags in the action, it's followed up by a character immediately commenting on it with another follow-up of, "You never saw anything! Don't say anything!" The author also uses a third-person omniscient perspective that allows us to quickly get a reaction from any character. We aren't mired in any one character's perspective, so the pace is not only a lot quicker, but we aren't as attached to one character. Everyone's a goof and a ball. How do I say? If anyone has read Soma Spider, So What? The jokes in that series are funny, because one character's perspective can clash with another's. One sees EXP points, and the other sees a monster. In this novel, everyone's reactions come in a line such that we aren't fully within someone's narrative in mind. It can hop to anyone, whenever. I don't think I'm explaining this right, but I'm sure the author uses this perspective because the story is never serious as Soma Spider can be, and it absolutely works. Waiting around for character reactions in a snappy novel like this, it wouldn't be as fun. So I know I just talked about a lot of the novel's good points, and yet I still don't recommend it. A structurally sound and technically humorous novel doesn't always make for a good rec, you know? I would never read this again. Just because a lot of jokes are built on the suffering of other characters, plus I don't really like any character enough to keep thinking about the novel beyond this video. However, I did come up with a few bad jokes. Very unfortunate for you. One chapter is named Winged Beast, and I know this isn't a parody of Wonderland and Wizard of Oz, but what a missed opportunity to make them flying monkeys. Both series are so whimsical and silly, why not? Dodo ended up being a winged man, and that's practically the same. Although I said I wasn't going to comment on Miss Heiger's roleplay, but singing to the birds and squirrels, Miss Snow White wannabe, could absolutely be, honestly. She's very cute and nice. The White Rabbit does make a large appearance in the novel, but I don't want to comment on him much. I don't like perfect characters. The only context you need is he has a crush on Heiger, which is absolutely one-sided. He wasn't even friend-zoned. He was shadow-lumped to acquaintance hell. To give context to this next one, at one point, Alice's crew is stuck before another gate because a group of potato monsters keeps trying to break through too. I mentioned before that Alice has a habit of eating strange things like monsters, and of course, she wants to eat these. However, These potato monsters use sprouts to run around and attack. So... No, Alice, you can't eat those potato monsters. Look at all those sprouts. They've gone bad.